There's a part of your brain that cannot tell the difference between being punched in the face and being ignored at a party, same region, same signal, same pain, and once you understand why, you'll never feel embarrassed about loneliness again. In 2003, a psychologist named Naomi Eisenberger sat a group of volunteers inside an fMRI machine, a device that watches your brain light up in real time. She didn't show them anything violent. She didn't give them electric shocks. She made them play a video game. The game was called Cyberball, 3 players tossing a virtual ball back and forth. Simple, almost boring, except 2 of those players weren't real, they were programmed, and halfway through the game the 2 fake players stopped throwing the ball to the real person. They just kept playing with each other, leaving the real participant out completely, silently, no explanation, no warning, just exclusion. And here's what the fMRI showed. The part of the brain that lit up was the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that processes physical pain, not emotional discomfort, not sadness, pain, the same signal your brain sends when your body is being physically damaged. Eisenberger called it social pain theory, and it would go on to completely rewrite how neuroscience understood human connection. But here's what almost nobody talks about: what happened next, because Eisenberger's experiment was just the beginning. A researcher named John Cacioppo spent the next 2 decades following lonely people. Not people who were alone, people who felt alone, even in crowded rooms, even in marriages, even surrounded by family. And what he found was terrifying. Lonely people's bodies were running a completely different biological program. Their cortisol levels, the stress hormone, were chronically elevated. Not just when they felt sad, all the time, even when they slept. Their immune systems were in a permanent state of low-grade inflammation, the same state associated with heart disease, diabetes, and accelerated aging. Their DNA was literally changing. Cacioppo found that loneliness altered the expression of genes responsible for fighting viral infections, as if the body, sensing social isolation, was preparing itself for attack. But why? Why would evolution build a system this brutal? Here's where it gets strange. Your brain was not built for the world you live in. It was built for the African savanna, 150,000 years ago, where being separated from your group was almost certainly a death sentence. Predators didn't attack tribes. They attacked stragglers, so your brain evolved the most powerful alarm system it could: physical pain, because pain cannot be ignored. Pain demands action. Hunger tells you to eat. Thirst tells you to drink. And loneliness, real deep loneliness, tells you to find your people, now, before something kills you. The problem: we built a world where you can be surrounded by 8 billion humans and still trigger that ancient alarm every single day. A world of open offices, social media follower counts, and group chats that somehow make you feel more alone than silence ever did. And here's the cruel irony that Cacioppo spent his career trying to warn us about. When the loneliness alarm fires, it doesn't just hurt, it changes how you think. Cacioppo's research showed that chronically lonely people enter what he called a hypervigilant state. Their brains begin scanning the environment for threats. Automatically, unconsciously, a neutral facial expression reads as hostile. A delayed text reply becomes a rejection. A friend canceling plans becomes evidence that nobody truly cares. And here's the trap: this hypervigilance, designed to protect you, actually pushes people away. You become harder to be around, more guarded, more sensitive to perceived slights, which creates more distance, which deepens the loneliness, which intensifies the hypervigilance. Cacioppo called it the loneliness loop, a self-reinforcing cycle that the brain cannot escape from on its own, because the very tool it's using to solve the problem is making the problem worse. And the statistics around this loop are staggering. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General, the highest medical authority in the country, issued an official advisory declaring loneliness a public health epidemic, not depression, not anxiety, loneliness. He reported that over 50% of American adults reported measurable levels of loneliness. That loneliness carries a mortality risk equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That it increases the risk of dementia by 50%, that it reduces lifespan by an average of 15 years. 15 years. Gone, not from disease, not from accident, from the quiet, invisible experience of feeling like no one truly knows you. And here's what makes this a uniquely modern crisis. We are the most connected generation in human history. The average American spends 7 hours a day consuming content created by other humans. We have more ways to communicate than at any point in 300,000 years of human existence. And yet loneliness rates have doubled since the 1980s, because connection and contact are not the same thing. Your brain, the one built on that African savanna, doesn't register a like on your photo as social bonding. It doesn't process a retweet as tribal belonging. It needs eye contact. It needs physical presence. It needs the experience of being known, not followed. And the more time we spend in digital contact, research suggests, the more we starve the ancient systems that actually process belonging. We are, in the most literal neurological sense, feeding our brains sugar when they're dying of hunger. John Cacioppo died in 2018. Suddenly, of lung cancer he hadn't known he had. He spent the last decade of his life trying to tell anyone who would listen that loneliness wasn't a personal failure. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't something to be ashamed of or pushed through. It was a biological signal, as legitimate as thirst, As urgent as pain, and just like thirst, ignoring it doesn't make it go away, it just makes the damage harder to reverse. The question he kept coming back to, and the one I want to leave you with, is this: in a world that has mistaken connection for contact, how do you actually find your tribe? And maybe more importantly, are you already lonely right now, and calling it something else? If this video made you feel something, that feeling itself is data. Your brain recognized something true. Drop in the comments, do you think loneliness is getting worse with technology, or do you think we're adapting? I genuinely want to know where you stand. If you found this useful, the algorithm responds to likes more than people realize, so if this deserved one, I'd appreciate it. And if you want to go deeper, the next video covers something just as hidden, just as personal, and just as misunderstood. I'll see you there.